it's a framework by which a lot of people are able to take iFormBuilder and adopt it and also grow within their organization. It originally started in the education field, but what we found is that in iFormBuilder, you're able to first substitute a piece of paper with the iFormBuilder platform. You're then able, that's a very low value, very easy integration, or I'm sorry, very adoption of the iFormBuilder platform. You're then able to take that form that you just copied into iFormBuilder, you're able to augment that. You're able to have drop-down lists. You're able to, standardize your data collection process. You're able to capture images on your form. You're augmenting what was originally done on that piece of paper. And where we really see the value going up that value chain is to then modify your workflow a little bit. So now you might actually collect a record and then have it trigger an email to an individual. Or you might have the form be smart enough that if an incident comes up and there's 15 light bulbs that need to be replaced, well, we're going to email the maintenance man directly from our organization or directly from the form. All of this is modifying that workflow, or we're going to dispatch records from the field out to that serviceman. From there, you're then able to redefine your workflow. And what we really want to focus on today is that top tier, that M and that R, modification redefinition. What we mean by redefinition is to completely transform the way that your field teams leverage their devices and also enter out into the field, capture the records, but also how that interacts with your existing systems, what kind of workflow you're able to build into the system. And all of this happens seamlessly. But one of the things that we've really seen is people that really just want to replace paper, it's a very low value, I guess, business case for the organization. Those that are able to march up along and truly augment their forms so that it's a smart form, allowing their people to be really effective, they're the ones that are seeing, marginal gain. The ones that have exponential success, the ones that are sending, a few million transactions through our system, or have thousands of people out in the field, or able to save hundreds of hours on a monthly basis, they're the ones that are truly redefining that, redefining their entire workflow. And it so happens that Zapier has been almost a savior in our own team's lives in terms of being able to have some of those workflows happen internally, and now what we wanted to do is turn that out to the rest of our community. So I have with me here Tony Ruth. Tony, we just want to go over some of the high-level details here. But first, for those I'm sure everybody on this call either has talked to you or had an engagement with you at some point, but what would you say is your role here at iFormBuilder?
Thanks, Ryan. So my role here at iFormBuilder has changed drastically over the last few years. I work primarily with our emerging clients that are going beyond just capturing data and want to start using that data with other platforms, as Ryan says, making their data dance. I also work very closely with our development and product team, now leading the charge on new future product developments in terms of what we're adding on the application itself, and then also the enhancements for the server side and everything in between. So I have my fingers on a lot of different things, which I think is actually very helpful in understanding how iFormBuilder is used by business folks to redefine, their current process.
And I guess you were one of the first people in iFormBuilder to really, I guess, get your hands on Zapier. And I guess we're going back probably a year, 15 months ago.
Yeah, it was January 2013 when we were first introduced to Zapier. Actually, a client of ours asked us if we worked with them, and we hadn't even heard of them. So the simple answer right off the bat was not yet, but let's take a look. What we found is actually the way the Zapier platform was designed and the way the iFormBuilder platform was designed is they actually were able to work together without any development work being done. So a very simple use case, anytime a new record was pushed into an iFormBuilder form, you could take that data and pass it into any other supported Zapier service. And it kind of lit up the idea bulb and said, wow, this is amazing, because I'm not a developer, I'm a business guy by background, very much like a lot of our clients are, and I was able to do this, and I was able to do this in about 15 minutes, and I didn't have to write a single line of code. And I think that's where I realized the true power, because lots of folks are have great ideas, and if only they were a developer, could they make them work? And hiring developers are not are not cheap. So this was a great way for me to start advancing, the functionality and getting this data outside of iFormBuilder, using it with other platforms, and not spending an arm and a leg to do so.
Right, and you know what, we've had some fun with it internally here, but can you share with the audience today, some of those real functionalities that you've really seen it happen, or some of the fun ways that you've adopted Zapier?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it starts off slow, and then as most things, once you get the ball rolling, the ideas keep flowing. And so the very first thing we looked into was pushing data from iFormBuilder into Salesforce. Lots of folks out there using the Salesforce platform, many of them overlapping using iFormBuilder. So we started off with that. It was a very simple proof of concept. Take some record data, pass it to Salesforce, and the fact that we were able to do this in about a half an hour was extremely empowering, and it almost became an addiction at that point. At this point there were 75 supported apps on the Zapier platform. I think today there are over 250. So I was honestly going through every single option that they had and just trying to see, what are the possibilities, really just exploring. And I think the excitement carried over to, well, how can we use this internally? Because, we have similar, business challenges that our clients do. We need to move data from one platform to another. Customer success teams need to share with the sales teams that are going out and following up with clients on renewal. Lots of different needs, and truly, it's not something we could task our development team with, because they need to stay focused on the iFormBuilder platform. And so it kind of left us, the business team, looking for ways that we could solve our problem without having to spend a lot of money or to truly bring a developer on board. And Ryan, I think, actually came to me and said, "Hey, Tony, I have a challenge for you. I mean, can it be done?" And I said, "I'm not sure, but we can certainly give it a shot." And I think within maybe a half an hour to an hour, we had a very good proof of concept going, and the rest is kind of history at this point.
Absolutely. And Tony, just from a workflow standpoint, what we at one point my phone rang, and I think it's really helpful to just show very simple but also very complex things that can happen within the device itself.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the very simple things you can do, and probably what I showed you early on, was a new record comes into a form within iFormBuilder, and some of that data is actually then passed into Zapier, one piece being a phone number. In this case, it was your phone number. And so what we had done, Ryan, is we pumped in some data, and we had the Zap set up so that it was going to call whichever number was entered in the form and read a message off to them. So, pretty powerful stuff for business users to be able to see that and to be able to also set this up themselves in a matter of minutes. That we're not talking days or weeks here. We're truly talking about some drag and drop, confirming some details are correct, and then it's done. And once it's set up, it just continues to run whenever it needed to.
Awesome. You know what? I think, why don't we just jump in and show around what's happening. I'll give you presenter rights here.
Okay, great. All right, so everyone at home should be seeing my screen now, and I'm going to show you a familiar interface, the iFormBuilder side first. This is kind of where it all begins, if you will. And so what I'm showing here is Disruptathon, and just to give you some background information, Disruptathon is it's a technology seminar slash kind of promotion group that goes around to all different places throughout the world, and they allow folks to come out and talk about what they're doing, and they usually present awards based on who had the best idea, who's the most disruptive to the market. Very simple criteria. Now, we're a technology partner for the Disruptathon event series, and for a long time we've done this scoring in a very painful way. Trying to figure out the winners required us to come in here and to literally download, in this case, 22 spreadsheets worth of data into Excel. And you're trying to pull all this information down right after all these presentations have gone off, and push the data together so you can run some analysis on it to determine who the winner would be. And so, needless to say, it's a very time-consuming process. I mean, everybody wants to know, okay, the presentations are done, who won immediately after the last one wraps up. So that's how we did it initially, and it worked fine for 2 years. We always knew that there was a better way, but back to the original, thing I spoke about, it was going to be expensive to bring a developer in and to try to build something out for this, this scenario. Come Zapier into the picture, we've streamlined this process. It's able to, truly be copied anytime they do a new event. We just kind of reconfigure the zaps to point at different forms. They're basically setting up new forms for every event that they go to, and this data is then piped into a Google spreadsheet. And basically, we are using Google to run the analytics, to do the scoring, figure out who the winners are for us. And the beauty of this is it's done in real time, and we don't have to actually do anything besides set it up before the event kicks off. After the last presentation wraps up, we just go to our report sheet, look for the highest numbers, and our winners are defined in a matter of minutes rather than half an hour. So from our standpoint, it's really changed the experience, especially for the presenters. They're not hanging around for half an hour, biting their fingernails trying to figure out who won. And as a technology partner supporting the event, we get to do all our work ahead of the event, so that when we go to the event, we just sit there and watch everything, go over smoothly. Enjoy a couple snacks and maybe a cold drink or two. And so coming back to this real example, we have 22 forms here. And so really this is 22 different presenters at this event who are all pitching their idea. And as the information is flowing into iFormBuilder, we have a set of zaps that are configured on my account here. So I'll just scroll down and give you an idea. These are all the same. So really what we've done is we set the first zap up, and then we just end up making copies. So for every form in iFormBuilder, we have a corresponding zap. And that zap is then responsible for pushing the data into Google for us. Now you may ask, well, why not use built-in Google functions? Hey Tony, there's other ways to do this. And the answer is yes, of course. There's typically many ways to solve the same problem. Again, we're trying to avoid writing a single line of code here, and that's where Zapier really makes life easy for non-technical folks. So I'm going to just dive into what this zap actually looks like from a setup perspective, and I'll just edit an existing one. So what you can see here is that we're actually using the webhook. This is from an older event before our iFormBuilder Zap was publicly available for use. And so, we had to make do with what was available to us. In this case, the generic webhook was used. I could very simply change this so that we're using the iFormBuilder Zap, and we basically are using the same trigger, which is a new record. So regardless how you go about it, the concept is the same. Anytime a new record is submitted into a form, we want to create a spreadsheet in Google. So really it comes down to when this happens, do this. Zapier's interface and explanations are very simple, which is, to me, quite helpful. I just want to know how do I get this set up with with as little investment in learning a brand new platform as possible. And so we have our iFormBuilder Zap. For the trigger side, we're using a new record that then translates into a new Google spreadsheet row. In this case, since I've switched it, we would select an iFormBuilder account. In this case, I'll just show you. I have a couple that I use. So we always suggest testing the account, make sure it's working. We'll do the same thing for Google. We have greens across the board, so we'll continue scrolling down. You have the option to filter. In this case, we're not going to filter. And actually, I'm going to back up just so you can see the full thing here. I don't want to edit this. Change all the configuration. We're just going to dive back into another one. So what you can see here is that the old method is basically using the feed. We're going to pass in some credentials that we can use to read the data from the disruptive font database. So it's just a matter of using the JSON feed and passing in our username and password. All these other pieces are not necessary. And if you're using the iFormBuilder Zap specifically, it's so much easier. You truly are presented with a list of drop-down menus. Select the form from a menu. So a little bit easier if you're actually using the integrated iFormBuilder piece. After we get the trigger side set up, it's a matter of coming down here and actually doing a data mapping exercise. So this is really the important piece, step 5, if you will. So we have data coming from a form in iFormBuilder. it needs to then go into a specific spreadsheet within a workbook on my Google account. And so you'll see the first drop-down menu I have is a list of all these workbooks that I've created. So we're going to stick with our Disruptathon HK 2014. And you can see there's actually a drop-down for worksheets. So in this case, we had 22 different presenters. I have to have 22 different sheets in there. Continuing down, these fields that you see, enter your email for follow-up. This is an iFormBuilder field. Okay. I'm sorry. No, this is a column in Google. So what you're seeing here is basically the structure of my Google spreadsheet, and it's quite simple. We actually don't really care about the email for follow-up and the scoring component of this. What we do care about are the 4 criteria that they are rated on. So we have this viral potential, presentation rating, translational potential, and disruptive rating. Now, the way that this works is these, again, are columns inside of our spreadsheet, and we get to insert fields from our data set on iFormBuilder. And so it's actually probably going to ask me to edit a row so you guys can see this. Nope, there it goes. So what this has done is it's gone back to iFormBuilder. It's actually pulled up the data column names of my forms, and this way I can actually select these things. So very simple. You don't have to write code here. It's just trying to do a data mapping exercise. In this case, we're going to try to find the record viral potential. Let's see. There it is. And it actually gives you the data for that particular record that it's looking at. So in this case, it was a 7. And then it's a matter of just selecting that. So you can see here that I've actually added 2 different fields from iFormBuilder to a single column on the Google side. So you're not restricted to just doing one one-to-one mapping. You can even put in like static text. So this is the score. And then anytime information is pushed up to iFormBuilder, it will actually send this is the score plus the value from the record into Google. And so you can use static text, and you can also use dynamic data from the records being pushed to iFormBuilder. And you just kind of follow that the whole way down. And basically, once you're all mapped out, you're going to scroll down to the next step, which is to test your Zap. We always suggest to test it, make sure that everything looks good. Zapier is really good about giving you a few samples to test with, so you get an idea of what this is going to look like, not just for one sample, but for a couple different samples. So you can take a look at what the sample data is going to look like, what the action sample looks like, or you can just run down here and hit test the sample. So what this has done is it's literally just grabbed this trigger sample, so record ID 101 for this particular form, and it's then pushed it across to Google. So right now there's a new spreadsheet row in my Google workbook, and I will jump over there just a second. So it's in P14. So if I come over here to my Disruptathon HK 2014 workbook, you'll see I have a worksheet down here, which is P14. And we'll just take a second to let this load. And if you come down here, you actually see 2 entries for 101. This one here is the test that I just pushed across. So, it was just an existing record from the iFormBuilder side, and we were wanting to test, so we push it across again. You can see, though, this is happening pretty much in real time. So I'll do another test just so you can see, and we'll test with this sample. So sending success. When I come back over here, boom, already there. So you're really talking a matter of milliseconds in terms of how long does it take iFormBuilder data to get through Zapier to the Google side. And this is why we use Zapier rather than like a built-in Google function. We need data in Google immediately. Google has built-in options that can pull data from external sources. They've limited that to running only every 20 minutes. And so the last presentation goes off, we'd have to wait 20 minutes still for everything to get updated. We don't want to do that. That's why Zapier is very valuable in this situation. Again, you can kind of see what I've done across the board is very much just kind of copy and paste. So for every presenter, we have the same exact thing set up. And it's just a matter of running some very simple calculations in my spreadsheets. So I'm doing an average function across each of these categories. So I get an average for each presenter on each category that they've presented about. ultimately, I'm then creating a report sheet where it's just kind of compiling all of the presenters and the the category topics, and it lets me see this information. Very simple layout, something that I'm familiar with. I can come in here as soon as it's done, and I just look for the biggest numbers and just mark them as green. So something that used to take us 30 minutes of post-processing after the last presentation was now taking us about 35 seconds to just come in here, find the largest numbers, and then we can announce the winners. So, I mean, everybody's asking why do this. It's a time saving. Time is money. We all know that. Again, this is something that we don't need a human to do necessarily. We need a human to set it up from the beginning. After that, let's put the technology to work and sit back and enjoy ourselves.
Great. So, Tony, you just showed us, I guess once a record gets submitted, would you mind starting from, I guess, scratch now? Can you show us how do we configure the iFormBuilder side? What's the first thing that I see on the Zapier side, and what information do I need to know? Also, with you referenced the webhook, and you also referenced the iFormBuilder app on Zapier.
Correct.
I think it's helpful to share with the audience what the role of the dedicated database means now to Zapier and to the workflows there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So again, we're showing webhook here because this event went off before our iFormBuilder app was publicly available. And I will take a step back and go back to my dashboard here. And so iFormBuilder is now a supported Zap. If you're logged into your Zapier account, you can actually find the iFormBuilder app up there. What we're going to do is just going to take a step back, like Ryan said. We're going to show you what you need to do in order to connect your iFormBuilder account to your Zapier account. And this can be done in one of two ways. You can either start it off by making a new Zap, or you can come into your account and hit your connected accounts option here. So I'm going to show you the make a new Zap way because I think we all want to just get started right away. Let's just get going. And so the first thing we need to do is actually choose the iFormBuilder Zap from the menu. And what you'll see here is that we have the most commonly used trigger, which is a new record, and this is the highlighted one, if you will. But there's also an option to show all the triggers. So these are all the events that can happen in iFormBuilder that would then force an action to take place. So new record is most common. We can also respond to new user, new form, or even a new company profile within your database. We're going to stick with new record since that's what we showed earlier. And again, on the trigger side, we have our list of applications to work with. Now, the really cool thing is that iFormBuilder supports data in and data out. So we can actually have iFormBuilder connect to iFormBuilder. In some cases, you may actually want to take data from Form A and pass 3 of the 10 fields into Form B. And so this is a very simple way that we can do this, where a new record actually then creates a new record. It could be in a totally different form altogether. So we're going to stick with this. I will show you all the actions here. We have update record assignment. Oops, sorry. At the very top, we have create a user. So basically being able to push a new user into your account. Update a form assignment. This is assigning a user to a form. So Tony gets assigned to the new lead capture form. Update a record assignment. This would be assigning a record to me. So you could actually say, hey, this new record coming in actually needs to get assigned to somebody. So you would use the update record assignment. We also have create widget, create form, and create record. So I think let's go ahead and stick with new record. Oh, go ahead,
Tony,
Ryan.
could you just jump through all of the available integrations? So we're going iFormBuilder and iFormBuilder, but can you just cover that? And I'm going to drop here in the chat window a link to the Zapier Zap book. So you can go iFormBuilder to any of these, a few hundred different types of Zaps.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, and they're expanding every day. I mean, the beautiful thing about Zapier is they're actually not the ones building the Zaps. It's the platforms themselves. So we wrote the iFormBuilder Zap. The Zapier team helps us along the way, explaining best practices to us and making sure that it's been QA'd properly. But again, I'll just pick on our initial, pilot, which was Salesforce. So, a new record in iFormBuilder can perform these different actions in Salesforce. So creating new notes, new cases, and I think they even have a lot more. So custom objects, new leads. Any of you familiar with Salesforce, your your eyes are probably lighting up at this point with ideas. So again, this is constantly being updated. A year ago, they were at 76. Now they're at 250 plus. It'll be interesting to see where they are in another 6 months to 8 months.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I mean, even internally, we use it for iFormBuilder to 37 signals. We do iFormBuilder to MailChimp. We do iFormBuilder to Salesforce. We do iFormBuilder to SendGrid.
Mm-hmm.
We do, I mean, there's a lot of different types of zaps that are actually being created. So I just want to emphasize the fact that if you scroll through the Zap book that I just shared over, with the way that we've configured this, if you have a dedicated database, you're able to leverage the iFormBuilder app on Zapier, and that's going to allow for that bidirectional data to happen. So you can, yes, push data from iFormBuilder into whatever the other tool is, but you're also able to take data from an existing system or existing platform and bring it into iFormBuilder as well. And I think that's what Tony's going to continue on, but really, really important. And if you have any questions, please use the chat feature. I'll be more than happy to address them now or send you resources.
Yeah, I mean, and just a quick side note there. I mean, we're really talking about iFormBuilder here, but internally we actually use Zapier with like our Zendesk to our CRM 37 signals high-rise. So we use iFormBuilder Zap with other tools. We also use other tools with other tools. So it's not just about iFormBuilder, even though that's what we're speaking about today. And that's why we love the platform so much, because it truly opens up lots of opportunities for us to really take advantage of these applications and software that we use every single day. So I think, Ryan, the key here was we wanted to show how do we connect your iFormBuilder account to your Zapier account. So I'm going to do a simple one. My Salesforce demo actually expired. So here's a really simple one. This is what I kind of surprised Ryan with. This is just a phone, right? So you have two options here. You can call the phone. You could send an SMS, whatever you prefer. We'll go ahead and just stick with the call phone option and hit the continue button. From here, in my case, I have iFormBuilder accounts. I'm going to just show you how to connect to a different iFormBuilder account. And so in this case, we're going to do Zapier demo as the name. It doesn't really have to be anything related to iFormBuilder, just something that you understand what it's for. In this case, as Ryan mentioned, it does require a dedicated database. And so the value that you're typing in here is actually your company name in front of iFormBuilder. And so for this demonstration, we're going to go ahead and use Apple. So we've created a demo environment for the Apple folks, and I'm going to go ahead and click continue. What's going to happen next is I'm going to get redirected to the Apple iFormBuilder instance. Now, if this is your company, it would be redirecting you to your company page. And so I just need to go ahead and log in with my server admin credentials. And that is one key thing here too. So you need to be logging in with the server admin because this is using the APIs. And of course, I don't know the password here, but third time is not the charm. 1 second. Tell you what, rather than look silly, let me go to a place where I know I'm correct. So we'll go to another environment that's called branded. And you know what, I need to exit out of this. And let's just try one more time. So we'll go to branded. Zapier demo again. And I don't know if that's the right one, but I'm pretty sure I do know the password here. So you can see what happened is I actually logged in successfully. It redirects back to Zapier and tells me my account is now working. So as you saw before, if you type the password in wrong, it's just going to keep you on the iFormBuilder page until you get it right. If you try to log in with a user that is not a server admin, you're going to get a different error. And I'll just take a minute to do that right here. Zapier demo 2. We'll go back to branded again. Oh, you know what? I'm already cached the login, so we'll skip that for now. But basically, you would see an access not granted message that comes back, and if you see that, it's because your user is not of the right access level. And if you run into any more problems, just feel free to contact our support team. We'll be happy to get you up and running. At this point, now that my account is connected, we can just go ahead and continue. And I already have some phones set up in my Zapier account, and so we can just go ahead and pick my work phone here. And so I think if we test this account, I don't know if it actually does anything that you can see, but what I'm going to do here, in just a second, oh, it did. I got a text message that you guys didn't see yet, but hang with me for just a minute. I'm going to try to go ahead and get this to show up, and you guys can see that my phone's actually going to ring here. And so basically, this is what I was showing you before. When you're using the iFormBuilder plugin, you'll actually be able to see a list of all the company profiles on this database. And so in this case, we're just going to stick with Zerion software, and then we get to choose the form drop-down menu. Now, these are all the forms contained in the Zerion software profile. If for some reason we wanted to, interrogate or look into a different profile, we just have to go ahead and, select that. So I believe we'll just choose the Zapier demo profile, and you'll see that there's one form here, I believe. Oh, there's a couple actually. But the point is that the list of forms changed based on the profile that I select. So you're able to kind of filter through that stuff a little bit easier. And in this case, let's see, what do we have? We're going to go ahead and use this lead capture form here. And email error 2, this is for if there's ever a problem sending information to Zapier, we want to let you know about it. So this is just to give you some feedback in case this didn't process. There's a failure on the Zapier side, maybe their servers are down or some networking problem that caused the request to fail. At least you'll be notified that it didn't go through. And in this case, we're not worried about custom filters, but you can use filters. So maybe not every request that comes through you want to process through the Zap. You're able to actually pick fields and conditions and values. So I think in this case, there's actually no data in this table, but that's all right. So we're going to go ahead and just log in. And I just need to go check out this profile here and drop a row in. So Ryan, anything that you wanted me to review in addition to what we're showing here?
No, I think this is great. From our perspective, it's a matter of I wanted everybody that's on this call to understand, one, what is available with the integration. I wanted to show an example of capturing a record on the device, sending it through, and having it populate or ring a phone call or populate Google Doc. And like I said, if there's any questions, comments, concerns, we are recording this, and I'll make this available to everybody that's on the call or those that were logged in hereafter.
Right, so thanks, Ryan, just for the time fill there. Since we've created a new row, basically what Zapier was asking us to do here, it's just allowing them to read the data structure from iFormBuilder. Typically, if you have at least one record in here, you won't have to do this. In this case, this is a brand new form, no data, so they need us to put something in there. And so what's happening now is that basically Zapier is going back to iFormBuilder, trying to find this record that I just created. Since they found it, now they can understand all the fields inside of this form and make them available in the filter. And so basically any field inside of the form, including the metadata, you can apply a filter to. You could say, simply it's got to be created, by this guy with that. And if any other user created a record in this form, the Zap would filter it out and it wouldn't run. So just something you can keep in mind. Typically when I'm setting these up, I want them to fire every time. So we're just going to go ahead and get rid of the filter and continue. And so now at this point, it's a matter of setting up what message is going to come through when our phone is ringing. So again, we can put some static text in here and say this user called. Actually, we'll do this user and we'll insert a field. So we'll do Tony, and then we'll do space, and we'll put Ruth in there. So this user, Tony Ruth, called to inquire about, well, it wasn't going to work, a new account. We'll just end it there. And there's just a little option. I think you can do male, female in terms of the voice selection. So really, that's what we have going on there. And I just want to flip my phone over to the network so I can share this with you guys. Just bear with me 1 second.
Tony, I have a question that came in from Gabe on the call today. Can you transfer subform data in Zapier?
Can you transfer subform data?
Can subform data be used?
Oh, great question, Gabe. So yeah, absolutely. Whenever you send a record up to iFormBuilder, if there's subform data that goes along with it, that information is also passed over to Zapier. So when I'm doing this insert fields from the drop-down menu, if we had a subform, you'd actually see all the subform fields listed here as well. And so subforms of subforms, 4 levels, 5 levels deep, it's all going to come through. It's basically what iFormBuilder does is it sends Zapier the entire record data, from the parent all the way down to the lowest child, making it available for your use. So absolutely, you can take advantage of subforms with Zapier. And, of course, I'm having a challenge connecting to this second network that we have here. Let me just try one more time. Just wanted to be able to do a quick screen share with you guys, but of course technology is not playing along nicely. Tell you what, you're going to be able to hear it, so you're going to have to trust me on the visual, but we'll go ahead and click continue here, and we're going to test this. So basically at this point, we just want to go ahead and click continue, and we'll just test the Zap. So what's going to happen here is in about maybe 10 seconds or less, you're going to hear my phone ring. And this is just coming from really an automated number. Oh, here it comes. So you guys can hear, we're going to put accept and speaker.
This user Tony Root called to inquire about a new account. Goodbye.
So very simple, right? And you can get far more elaborate, put more fields in, more static text, run your filters, but hopefully you get to see, the power of Zapier. Without writing a single line of code, we're taking some data from a record submission, which, in our case, the data can be collected offline. The second that it hits a server and gets into a connected environment, this data can then go all over the place. In this case, I called myself, but I could call my colleague, 2 time zones away and have them start performing some maintenance activities. Let your imagination start running wild at this point.
I have another question that just came in, and the question is, how does Zapier handle the multi-linking subform? So there's one-to-many versus a single submission subform.
Yeah, another great question there. So and basically, with a multi-paging subform, you have an array of records, and so the way Zapier will display that information is record bracket 0 and then the field, record bracket 1 and then the field. So basically that's saying your first subform record, your second subform record, third subform record, all the way down the chain there. Now, I can tell you that in most cases, working with a multi-paging subform with something like Zapier, you may run into some hurdles to overcome, simply because you're going to have a variable number of records. And Zapier truly needs kind of a hard-coded value, right? Which index should I pay attention to? I think one thing to point out here is that Zapier is not going to be the silver bullet for every single problem out there. What it can help you do, though, even if it's not able to ultimately solve your problem, is it's a fantastic rapid prototyping tool, something that you can take in front of a legitimate development team and say, look, this is what I need. Here's how it works. And you're able to put the proof of concept together without spending $10,000. So it's doable. In a real-world scenario, it may not perform as well as a custom solution would.
Right, and just from a limitation standpoint, it is off the shelf, but at the same time, there's a ton of flexibility in here. We see a ton of our business users are able to get things up and running. I love saying in a matter of hours and days versus weeks, months, and quarters to wait for a development team. But at the same time, keep in mind that if you do have a very custom or a very unique workflow or a very detailed process or workflow that needs to happen, this will get you, pretty far down the road. But at the same time, there is still a place for custom software to be built or custom web services to be built to manage some of these workflows.
No, absolutely. And we actually found that internally. One of the projects you handed off to me, Ryan, was hey, we need some information coming from our customer success center passed into the CRM. And we set it up with a Zap, and in a week we found out that there was just too much noise coming through. So it was actually a great idea, but it needed some refinement. Now, Zapier wasn't able to give us the refinement we were looking for. However, being able to go to the developers that we have available to us and say, look, this is what we have, this is what we want to change about it, can you help us? And for them, it was actually very helpful because they're able to see the workflow, and the coding part was very simple for them. I think it took maybe a half an hour to an hour. Without the example, though, we're talking maybe half a day to explain an idea, to storyboard it out, get the requirements, and then make it happen. And so a half a day of development time is far more expensive than an hour of a business person's time and then another half an hour of the developer's time.
So I have another question that just came in, and the question is about form assignment.
Mm-hmm.
How does assignment work within the platform? Is it a trigger? Is it what causes the assignment to happen?
Right. So the assignment is an action. So basically, there's a trigger and there's an action in Zapier's world. Trigger is something that happens. The action takes place after the trigger. And so in iFormBuilder's case, the assignment is something that happens after a trigger. Now, in order to assign a form to a user, you need two main pieces. The form ID, page ID, if you will, which you should all be quite familiar with from the data views page. So here's your page ID. The other piece that you'll need is the user ID. And so the user ID can either be found out through the APIs. Another simple way that you can go about this is to actually just edit a user, and in the web browser you would see actually see the user ID in the address bar. So hang with me for just a minute, and we'll just edit this guy. So what you see up here is this user ID. And so when you do form assignment, you basically need to say, I want to assign this user ID to this form ID, and then you'll have to determine whether they have collect rights, view rights, or both. So hopefully that helps answer the question.
Right, and we have a few more that are coming through here. In terms of passing images through Zapier, how does that work? What goes into it? And I guess how is that managed?
Another great question. So iFormBuilder is storing media outside of the data set. Most of you who are working with media already are familiar when you ask for data from iFormBuilder on the feed side, right? So your Excel, your XML, and JSON, that we return a hyperlink in that data. So ultimately to Zapier, it's just another piece of text that they have to send to another field. And it's just a matter of iFormBuilder is not actually passing the image through Zapier, it's passing the link that points to the image.
Absolutely. No, and I hope that makes sense. If there's any other questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly. With that, I want to open the floor to if there's any more questions. In the meantime, I'm going to put my personal email address into the chat feature here. Also, we had yesterday a very successful all-hands-on chat day, or I guess support day. If you haven't noticed, in the admin control panel as well as on the iFormBuilder website, there is the chat function down at the bottom. Our agents are very informed, well-equipped, and have some great things happening on that side. Please use it. And going back to the whole SAMR concept, what an integration, or our development team spending time on an integration like Zapier, it really allows and encourages the champions of iFormBuilder, those of you who are on the call, the form builders, the company admins, to really redefine what that workflow looks like. So now you can actually have a full end-to-end solution, and we'd be more than happy to talk through some of that higher-level form design or any other types of questions that may come up. It seems like we've exhausted our 45 minutes here, Tony. I really appreciate everyone who's been on the call. And again, if we can help with anything, or if you have questions about Zapier or how it works or what is possible, we'd be more than happy to address that. Once again, this is Ryan Coleman, Tony Ruth. Thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to end the webinar. Thank you.